They never saw the ghost in their own machine. The chrome and glass spire of Argon Tech Industries pierced the night sky, a monument to billions and the men who worshipped them. Inside, after the symphony of keyboard and conference calls had faded, a different sound echoed. The soft squeak of rubber soles on polished concrete. Ruth Delgado moved through the labyrinth of empty cubicles, a specter in a gray uniform, her mop bucket her only companion. To the masters of this universe, she was part of the scenery, a silent functionary who erased the day's mess. To CFO Lucas Grant, she was less than that. Well, if it isn't the cleaning lady who smells like bleach. His voice cut through the quiet, laced with a venomous cheer. He stood with a group of junior executives, their tailored suits costing more than Ruth's monthly rent. Make sure you get that corner. I think someone spilled their conscience there. His sycophants chuckled. Ruth's eyes remained downcast, her hand steady on the mop handle. This was a ritual. Her silence was a shield. Later, as she emptied a bin in the finance wing, she heard the sharp, unmistakable tone of Lucas Grant behind a half-closed door. Just alter the designations on the Cayman stream. Code it as Project Phoenix R&D. No, don't ask why. Just make the legacy entries disappear. A junior accountant scurried out, looking pale. As Lucas strode out after him, a single sheet of paper, dense with numbers and account codes, fluttered from his folder to the floor. Ruth picked it up. The numbers told a damning story she understood instantly. As she turned to place it on a desk, Lucas was there, his expression shifting from annoyance to cold fury. That doesn't belong to you. He advanced, cornering her against the humming server racks in the adjacent room. The air grew cold. Give it to me, or I will make one call, and you'll be out on the street wondering how you'll feed your family. He leaned in, his breath a cloud of expensive coffee and arrogance. People like you, he hissed, should be grateful we even let you mop these floors. He expected fear, submission. But Ruth's gaze, for the first time, met his directly. There was no gratitude in her eyes. Only a chilling, calculated calm. What Lucas Grant didn't know, as he stared down at the woman he considered a human stain, was that Ruth Delgado was not who she seemed. The threat hung in the sterile air between them. But Ruth's mind was not on his words. It was on a tiny, almost invisible lens concealed within the handle of her cleaning cart. For 11 months, that lens had been her most vital tool. While she pushed a mop, it captured every hushed conversation, every furtive glance, every illicit handoff of a document. By day, she was Ruth Delgado, janitor. By night, in a secure government facility, she was Ruth Delgado, lead forensic accountant for the Department of Justice's Financial Crimes Division. Argon Tech hadn't been a random assignment. Years earlier, a smaller, innovative company she had helped build from the ground up was deliberately bankrupted and absorbed by Argon Tech's monopolistic, fraudulent practices. She had watched her life's work and the jobs of her friends evaporate. When the DOJ needed someone with an unparalleled understanding of corporate shell games and the patience of saying to go undercover, she had volunteered without hesitation. The humiliation was part of the cover. The bleach smell was a costume. Every sneer from Lucas Grant was another piece of evidence, another layer of his own coffin being nailed shut. Hidden in her modest apartment were hard drives containing a mirror image of Argon Tech's corruption, a digital tomb for the empire they had built on lies. She had not just been cleaning their floors. She had been dissecting their soul, and she had found it rotten to the core. The woman Lucas thought was powerless held the entire truth of his crimes in the palm of her hand. Lucas's patience snapped. He saw the corner of a USB drive peeking from Ruth's uniform pocket. "What did you steal?" he snarled, his hand darting out to grab her arm. His grip was tight, bruising. He was a man used to taking what he wanted. "You're finished. Do you hear me? Finished." Ruth didn't struggle. She simply turned her head toward the server room entrance, her body language shifting from passive to poised. A calm, authoritative voice cut through the tension. "I'd let go of her if I were you, Grant." Lucas froze, his head whipping around. Standing in the doorway was Agent Daniel Reyes, a man he knew as Ruth's brother-in-law, who'd occasionally brought her forgotten lunch. But the man standing there now was no relative. He wore a bulletproof vest emblazoned with FBI, a badge gleaming in the fluorescent light. Behind him, a team of federal agents fanned out, their presence transforming the corporate hallway into a crime scene. "What is this?" Lucas sputtered, his grip loosening in shock. Ruth smoothly pulled her arm free. "This," Agent Reyes said, his voice flat and final, "is the end of your workday." With silent efficiency, the agent sealed the entire 42nd floor. The quiet hum of servers was now accompanied by the static of radios and the grim purpose of justice being served. The balance of power in the room, in the entire building, had irrevocably shifted. The hunter had become the hunted. As two agents took Lucas by the arms, Ruth reached into her cart past the spray bottles and rags. She pulled out a simple, neatly labeled manila folder. She held it out, not to the agents, but to Lucas, forcing him to look at the title. Argon Tech, Offshore Accounts, 2022 to 2025. You've been laundering $780 million through fake R&D subsidiaries in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands, Ruth stated, her voice even clinical. You use shell companies named Ether Consulting and Prometheus Ventures. You thought deleting the files made them gone. But every late-night transaction, every altered log, was mirrored and archived by me. Lucas's face, once a mask of arrogant certainty, drained of all color. He stared at the woman in the janitor's uniform. Finally seeing her, he saw the sharp intelligence in her eyes, the unwavering resolve. He had dismissed her for a year, and in that year, she had built a case that would destroy him. You couldn't possibly understand any of this, he whispered, a last, desperate denial. Ruth allowed a thin, cold smile. You thought I didn't understand what you were doing, she said, her gaze sweeping over the opulent office he called his own. But I've been cleaning up your mess far longer than you've known. The metaphor was a precise and devastating weapon. She hadn't just been scrubbing floors. She had been scouring his entire corrupt empire down to the bone. The cuffs clicked shut around Lucas Grant's wrists, the sound echoing like a tomb slamming shut. "Lucas Grant," Agent Reyes intoned, "you are under arrest for securities fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit money laundering." As he was led away, Ruth delivered the final, crushing blow. "This is Operation White Collar," she announced, the name she had chosen with bitter irony. "While you were threatening me, simultaneous raids were executed in 12 cities. 17 of your fellow executives are in custody, as are the 3 senators whose campaigns you funded with stolen money." The collapse was seismic and swift. By morning, news vans swarmed the Argon Tech Tower. The stock price plummeted into oblivion. Lucas's wife, the recipient of a charitable donation that was in fact a multi-million-dollar kickback, filed for divorce before he even made his first court appearance. The empire of lies, so carefully constructed, crumbled into dust in a matter of hours, brought down not by a rival or a whistleblower, but by the woman who emptied its trash. 6 months later, Ruth Delgado stood on a stage under a wash of bright lights, a different kind of uniform adorning her frame. A simple, elegant dress. A heavy weight was placed around her neck, the Presidential Medal for Corporate Integrity. Her story had become a global sensation. The headline everyone remembered: the janitor who unmasked a billion-dollar fraud network. She looked out at the sea of faces, at Agent Reyes beaming from the front row. "For years," she began, her voice clear and strong, echoing in the silent, rap hall, "they believed invisibility was a weakness. They looked through me, past me, because I did not look like power to them." She paused, letting the words sink in. But invisibility, when used wisely, is the perfect disguise for truth. It allows you to see what others, in their blinding arrogance, forget to hide. The applause began as a ripple, then erupted into a thunderous, standing ovation. The woman once dismissed as just a janitor was now the face of a new era of accountability. She had not just taken down a company. She had become a symbol, a ghost in the machine who had, finally, rebooted the entire system.